Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Ottawa and Marshall Cycliffe in the booth with Hall of Famer Ben Stark. And we're almost ready underway here in the feature match area. Let's try to, so that's Owen Turtenwald's hands on the left, right? I know that's Owen Turtenwald.
They're too white to be anyone else.
Yes, you get to know the player's hands really well.
Yeah.
I know how you shuffle.
Yeah,
I can tell you shuffle a lot and kind of
fast.
rough. You're kind of,
rough and fast.
Yeah, now I can't quite tell who his opponent is, but I believe it's Steve Rubin.
Okay.
That's who I think that is.
Steve Rubin, I'm somewhat familiar with. I played him 2 or 3 times recently, and he's beaten me every time, so I remember him.
So he's Hall of Fame caliber?
Hey, man, if you beat a Hall of Famer.
At least in a sample size of 3.
Get him in the Hall.
All right, well, let's get underway here. So Leaping Master to kick things off for Rubin.
Yeah, and I think Owen's going to debilitating injury it. He wanted to, think a little before he played his land because he didn't want to give away that he was thinking about debilitating injury. But not having a 2-drop, you pretty much just want to kill it, on turn 2.
It's just going to do too much damage over the course of the game?
Yeah, because, it's really hard to get a guy with 3 toughness before turn 4, and sometimes, even turn 5. So, I mean... And it has evasion, so Leaping Master is a really nice 2-drop. Becomes relevant later in the game, too. Also, debilitating injury is not the kind of removal you necessarily want to save. The card is good because it often will trade up by a mana, but it's a card you generally want to use right away to just stay even with them. It's not the kind of card you save for their best creature because it just gives it -2/-2. It doesn't kill it.
Also, you can see now Owen's plan is sort of unfolding for us with his Chief of the Edge, the 3/2. He didn't want to have that tussle with the lowly 2/1, so he's going to start off by attacking.
And Steve's never going to consider blocking here. And this is a good spot to bluff. Obviously, Owen's not bluffing. We see he has speed resistance in his hand. But this is the kind of spot where your opponent's just never going to block. They're not going to let you keep the counter and bin their 5/4 flyer.
Right.
So this is a good spot for people at home to note that you should bluff if you don't have beat in your hand. This is a spot where if you think, if you're a control-ish deck and you don't need the damage because that's not going to help you win or something, don't bluff. But if you're like a creature deck and you're gonna have to race that butcher, send your chief here. Even if you don't have the feat.
Makes sense, and interesting play here from Rubin. He main phase Bringlows to play around Feat of Resistance, putting Owen Turtenwald on it.
Right.
He decides to take down the Unyielding Krumar though, and not the chief, and he's actually going to be punished for that because Owen on his draw step drew Call to Arms. What is it called? Bring Up Arms. How come I can't remember? Take Up Arms, thank you. So he's going to get 3 warriors out of the deal on end step here, and they're all going to have 2 power now.
They're actually all going to have 3 power. Do you see the other card in Owen's hand?
Oh, Raider Spoils too? Oh, wow.
Owen's about to go off.
This is going to be insane.
Yeah.
So end step, Take Up Arms. And we need warriors here specifically. You can see Owen's looking around for them. And yeah, now all of a sudden, leaving, with the Krumar dead, it's much less of a big deal if he would have killed the Chief of the Edge instead, but...
Right, and I don't know if he knew that Owen had like a warrior theme going here.
Right.
This is a pretty specific card. Like if Owen just cast 1 random warrior, I don't think Steve would really regret that play.
Right.
Obviously he regrets it now.
Yes. The Unyielding Krumar is a better creature on its own. Bigger toughness and can get first strike, but in Owen's deck, that is definitely not the case.
Owen is kind of in the tank here, so I wonder if he's thinking maybe I should just get the swarm of Broodflies in play. I would think he could just drop the Raider Spoil. That Butcher's only hit once, right? He's at 15?
He should be at 15.
So, I would think if you play this Raider Spoil,
Yeah. So it looks like Owen's going to play the Raider Spoils is what he ultimately ended up deciding on doing. And here's a Feat of Resistance after a block on a token.
Yeah, no one did play the Raider Spoils, right?
Yeah, he played the Raider Spoils and he attacked with only the tokens. He doesn't want to trade his Chief for even an knobs on Falconer.
Yeah, I guess that's maybe what he was thinking about, because that's a close call.
Yeah.
I didn't think playing the Raider spoils was that close a call. I thought that was a clear play. But I thought whether or not you send the Chief there is a close call.
Right, now is Owen going to pay 2 life and draw 2 cards here? It looks like at least 1.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got plenty of life. I mean, you're obviously in a race situation, so you're not going to just always max out on draw like you would in some situations. But I think that he's certainly going to be able to draw an extra card or 2. He really has to do the exact math and figure it out, because you don't want to die by exactsies. It's much more important.
Speaking of dying here, I think that might be what Owen's doing right now.
Well,
that's lethal, right?
Yeah, there's probably not a lot he could have done about that.
Yeah, I don't think there was much he could have done anyway. And Steve Rubin kind of steals the game where Owen really, he played debilitating injury early to keep the pressure off, and then kind of just curved into this great warrior draw, and it wasn't enough.
Butcher of the Horde is another one of those rares that I consider more of a constructed card. It's
been pushed, as we say.
Yeah, for limited. Like it's very balanced and constructed. It's exact power level for a 4-drop in standard. But if you do that turn 4, I think even on the play in limited, and your opponent can't kill it, you're going to be a big favorite.
Yeah. Yep. Very, very difficult card to deal with.
4 mana 5/4 flyer.
Yeah, and it's got a bunch of other abilities too if you want to use them, but you don't even have to. As we saw in this case, Steve didn't actually activate it at all. He just attacked with it.
And I think that's the most common thing with it. I don't think in general you're going to sack a guy to give it haste. Obviously there are times they're tapped out, they're 5, what have you.
Right.
But in general, if you can play that guy and just keep attacking with it, you're probably going to win the game. So you're not really looking to invest other creatures in it, in extra damage or lifelink very often. Obviously sometimes, if you're sacking a 1/1 token to deal 5 or to gain 5 or something like that. But in general, I'm going to figure if this thing's going to live and keep hitting them, I'm probably going to win.
Yeah.
So in case they can kill it, I don't want to throw away other creatures for life.
Right.
In general, in limited, you're not trying to trade creatures for life, just as an overgeneralization. Creatures stay around and continuously take life from the opponents. So, it's like chump blocking. You know what I mean? You do it when you have to. You don't want to.
Right. Steve's got that cool, I don't know that iPad kind of thing where he's writing his life total on it. Saving some paper, I guess?
The future.
Yeah. Owen's doing some careful consideration on what he wants to do here. It looks like the swarm of bloodflies are leaving. Or both of them. And he's bringing in Rakshasa's Secret, a Rite of the Serpent, and I guess he wants an answer for that.
So I'm not
big guy brought in Smite Monsters.
I'm not surprised to see the swarm of bloodflies leaving. That's more of a card that's good against more control-ish decks where your creatures stay in play and don't have to trade off and things like that. Rush Battle also, but Rush of Battle, the life gain seems very relevant if they could be racing. So, I think I'd be a little bit more hesitant to take out Rush of Battle, but I think Owen's thinking, well, he's going to kill my guys and block my guys. I'm going to kill his guys and block his guys. It's not a stalemate-y type matchup. So Rush of Battle's not really going to shine here, and Swarm of Bloodflies is not going to be very good at all here.
Now, what about Rakshasa's Secret? What's the thinking on bringing that card in here?
I don't know. Steve's a 3-color deck. Maybe it's going to disrupt his ability to have the mana and play things. I'm surprised by that. Like, if I were Owen, I would have. And Owen knows his deck a lot better than me. I haven't seen his deck list or anything. But if I were Owen, I would have definitely, from what I saw, wanted to take out the 2 Swarm of Bloodflies and bring in the Smite. But I don't know if I would have also took out the Rush of Battle for the Rakasha's Secret. That one surprised me a little bit. The Rite of the Serpent and the Smite he brought in for the 2 Swarm of Bloodflies. That makes a lot of sense to me. The Rush for the Rakasha's Secret is not something that's intuitive to me. It might be correct, but I'm not sure.
So Owen's on a really straightforward build here, by the way. He's gone for the simplistic. It's a 10/7 mana base, 17 lands. It looks like I don't see an 18th here, and it's just 2 colors. So really streamlined warrior deck here. He's got 3 debilitating injury, a bellowing saddle brute. He's got a bitter revelation, and then he's got a bunch of warriors. He's got a pair of disowned ancestors, the Krumar Bondkin, the Skull Hunter. Oh, he's also got an Acropolis Fiend, so a nice top end there too.
Okay, and that kind of answers that question a little bit because Owen's deck looked like an aggressive deck because Black-White Warriors it generally is an aggressive deck. But from looking at his deck list and the cards you're announcing, it looks like he's more controlling, really.
It does.
He's got,
He's got one of each chief.
Yeah, I know he's got a nice warrior theme, but nonetheless, he's got 3 debilitating injury, 2 disowned ancestor, and an Acropolis Fiend.
So he can switch to control route pretty easily.
Right. His deck is not your standard straight beatdown warrior deck.
Of course, the Rakshasa's Secret will help out with that.
Acropolis Fiend. There's some extra value from the Secret. Yeah,
a little bit of extra there. He also has a Shambling Attendants and a Rotting Mastodon on the board, but he doesn't want to bring those in. So we are underway here. Monastery Swiftspear from Rubin, very aggressive. Off of 2 1-drops here, 1 for each.
I do like the Hate Blade a lot more than I like the Swiftspear in Constructed.
In Constructed?
I mean, in Limited. In Legacy by comparison.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about last week because I played in the Legacy Grand Prix and Swiftspear was all the talk because everybody loves that blue-red Delver deck right now.
Yep, totally.
But yeah.
Not that great in Limited, though. I've been really unimpressed by Swiftspear in general.
I agree completely. That's what I was trying to say when I was befuddling my words, that I've tried the Swiftspear several times in Limited and been very unimpressed.
Yeah, same.
It's mostly just dealing 1. It's just mostly a 1 mana, 1 power beater.
Right.
It's not where you want to be in Limited.
No.
Hateblade, by comparison, is relevant in the early turns, can trade off with 2 1s, then in the late game, it can stop with 5/5.
Yeah. It's a good rate enabler, I found, too. People are unlikely to block, but Owen's going to just keep the board clear here. Clearly trying to take the control route, Owen Turtenwald.
Yeah, and I don't know if that trade, if I love it, it makes me think Owen may have...
injuries or something?
Yeah, or whatchamacallit, Necropolis Fiend in his hand.
Oh, he just wants to fill up his yard ASAP?
Yeah, because, getting the Necropolis Fiend out a turn early could be the difference between winning or losing.
Sure.
But, I mean, he didn't see that many spells from Steve last game. It's unlikely to think that Swiftspear is really going to do that much damage. Then again, you look at the way this game's played out, and Owen did not make a turn 3 play, did not have a Morph, but he did have a Bitter Revelation, which costs you life and draws cards.
So he's really wanted to protect that life total at all costs here.
Right.
Interesting, though, Steve Rubin, he played Tormenting Voice on turn 2. He would have taken 2 damage, I guess, from the Swiftspear. But anyway, yeah, so he plays Tormenting Voice, and then just does nothing on turn 3. Just nothing.
Yeah.
So Owen's got to be pretty thrilled with that.
Yeah, I mean, he discarded a land, but that's pretty standard if you already have another land, because you're drawing 2 more cards and 1 for your next turn. You assume you'll find land. He didn't find land.
He did not.
So
and it looks like he just passed the turn back and just doing nothing here, while Owen gets to kind of craft the perfect hand. It's working out really nicely for him. And there's a timely Horde Mate as well. He may have had that in his hand before, Owen, and maybe that's why he didn't mind putting the Hate Blade in the bin as well.
Yeah, and
later
that makes
on
it
he
an
can
easy
get it
block.
back. Yeah. All right, he's just going to take 1 for the team here, though, and rush. Put out the old Bellowing Saddle Brute. No raid. And here's Defiant Strike. Steve Rubin finally finds a target just to get that thing cycled. And he still can't find a land. In fact, he just drew 2 4-drops back to back, and I think he's discarding here.
Yeah,
Yuck.
pretty unlucky for Steve here.
No kidding.
I mean, when he Tormenting Voice discarding the land, I'm assuming he probably already had 1 more land in his hand.
Right.
So then, I mean,
He
he's
has to
drawn
now
5,
stare at
6
that mountain
cards.
in his graveyard for the rest of this game.
Yeah.
But
And he's drawn, 6 cards since then? I mean, 2 from the Voice and 1 from Defiant Strike and 2 or 3 draw steps. I mean,
Yep.
It's pretty unlucky.
Now, Owen Turtenwald respecting Kill Shot here and not attacking into it. He doesn't want to unlock a card in Steve Rubin's hand that's potentially the only thing that he could cast, and he knows that if Steve Rubin taps out to play a creature, then he can just battle with his 2 creatures here.
Yeah, and knowing that Steve is discarding, though, so it makes it... He has all spells in hand, so he could have a Kill Shot, but he's also not just leaving his 3-up, you know what I mean? Like, he's not going to leave 3-up for Kill Shot instead of morphing and then discard a card or something.
Right.
So Owen basically doesn't know if Steve has a Kill Shot in hand or not.
Is he going to test the waters anytime soon?
I think he'll probably attack now that he's from a,
So the Blood Flies makes it enough value where he says, sure, I'll take a 1-for-1, but I'll grow my guy. And then, of course, there's this chance Steve doesn't have it, which he doesn't.
Right.
And Owen just gets in for a big crunch.
There's different levels of representing it. Like, if you knew your opponent had a deck full of morphs, and then he passes on turn 3, you assume he probably has Kill Shot.
Right.
If you know your opponent's stuck on 3 lands and discarding, he has nothing else to do. So he's not actually representing Kill Shot. He just could have a Kill Shot
So
or could not.
Are you less likely to play around it in that scenario?
You're less likely to play around it because your opponent's not actually representing it. He just has nothing to do because he's discarding and doesn't have lands to do.
Wow, look at this. Owen Turtenwald double debilitating injury, and that's going to get him in there for 4, 7, 10 damage and put Steve on a 1-turn clock here. And Owen's got to be thrilled with the way that this is panned out, as Steve Rubin is going to die with 8 cards in his hand, effectively 7, but wow.
Yeah.
So 1 stumble on mana, and Owen is able to capitalize in a big way and put this game away, as Steve Rubin had a nice game 1 and beat a pretty decent draw from Owen, but not this time.
Yeah. Yeah, an unfortunate game.
So let's see if Owen goes back to the sideboard.
Unfortunate game. Would have been cool if Steve had land 4. Not necessarily a Swamp and Butcher on turn 4. It just would have been nice if Steve could have started casting Alabaster Karens and maybe we could have had a pretty good game of Magic.
That's right. Let's take a live look in at Morgan McLaughlin versus Shahar Shenhar on our side table. Looks like more of a morph fight here. We haven't really seen that on our main match. I don't think anybody's played a morph yet, but on the other side, there's 3 morphs already on the battlefield.
I love Morph.
I do too. God, I love morph. I also love that guy right there, Heir of the Wilds.
Oh, that guy's great.
Yeah.
In between rounds, I was talking about some picks with some of the pros, and one of the concepts that came up that we were discussing is 2-drops in this format. Because it's not a very aggressive format, so you don't really prioritize bad 2-drops, things like Wetland Sandbar.
Sure.
But there aren't very many good 2-drops.
Right.
So the good 2-drops you want to take very aggressively, just to make sure you end up with 2 or 3 good 2-drops, and then you don't have to play any of the bad 2-drops.
That's right.
Very similar to Return to Ravnica in that way.
So I had a discussion with some of the coverage guys, Randy and BDM, last week. I want to get your take on it, Ben, while we were just looking at it. Heir of the Wilds versus Seeker of the Way.
Okay.
I'm on the Heir of the Wilds, like just putting them in a vacuum.
Yeah.
I'm on Heir of the Wilds. I like it better, but they were both pretty strongly on Seeker. Where are you at on this?
I like Heir of the Wilds because Seeker might be more of a constructed card because you can play a 10, 12 creature deck and have all spells, like the Jeskai constructed deck in Type 2.
Ooh, there's
standard.
a Holy Lock.
But in Limited, you don't always have all these instants to just be firing off to take advantage of Seeker, whereas you do generally have a 4-power creature or 2 to trigger the Heir of the Wilds. So and also just Death Touch makes it relevant in the late game and able to always attack, able to block big things. So I would take Heir of the Wilds between those 2.
All right, I'll make sure to tell them that the first chance I get.
Yeah, Seeker's good.
They're both awesome.
Yeah, Seeker's one of the good 2-drops. It's something I'll take aggressively.
Sure.
But I think people think it's a little bit better than it is because of the way it shines more in constructed.
Right. There's my thoughts on it too.
Seeker's still good, obviously. Sometimes you just kill something
Totally.
and get to hit for 3 and gain 3, and that's a great 2-drop.
Yeah, totally. I'm a big fan of Seeker, no doubt about that. So Dragon's Eye Savant's got flipped up there showing Riverwheel Aerialist, and he got a chance to see his opponent's Morgan's hand. You can see Morgan's got Barrage of Boulders. I'm assuming that's his hand. He just left it face up back there. And it's a Scaldkin and a Heart Piercer.
It's funny. We do that all the time when we're playing for fun, but usually in a Grand Prix, I'm going to want to hold my own hand.
Yeah, I think so too. It looks like he might do it now. He's had enough of that.
All right, just giving Shahar some time to write it down.
Yeah. Courteous of him.
Remember it.
Shahar's got Surrak in his hand. Could be interesting here, though. It doesn't match up particularly well against Willie Loxodon.
I think Owen and Steve are getting underway. If we can maybe check out Game 3 there.
Oh yeah, why don't we jump back over? Yeah, these ones go quick over here. We're already in Game 3, and we've got a Mardu Hateblade hitting the red zone. Although no second play here for Turtenwald, and a nice one for Steve Rubin.
And 4 planes in play could be kind of telling.
Indeed.
Although I think Owen might have just drawn that swamp, shuffled it into the back. No. No. Doing a lot of shit.
You might be right.
No, he didn't because he passed back. So.
Oh, he passed back already?
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, so this could be really bad for Owen if he can't find his way out of this now. Oh wow, Steve Rubin.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to main phase, give his Falconer a token and get it in the air as well. And he's going to crunch in there for what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage?
Owen did draw the swamp this time.
Is it too late?
I don't know. Yeah, all he can really muster are I think some Chiefs, and I don't know if he can stop that big flyer.
And there's going to be 2 big flyers here.
Right. This next turn is going to be pretty bad for Owen.
He's going to be on a 3-turn clock here very quickly.
He's going to represent a kill shot, maybe?
Yeah, he could, but...
Things. Okay, well... Isn't the Hateblade a warrior? Oh, he couldn't... I see. He couldn't cast it and attack first. Okay, I got it.
Right, because of the black mana.
Right, he only has the 1 black. Okay,
That's
so...
right.
But nonetheless, this game is not looking good for Owen.
So what does Steve have as a follow-up?
Well, he's just going to play
here?
something.
He's just got a Morph or something?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got a Bring Low to take down the Chief of the Edge.
And now look at the size of these creatures, and the race isn't really close. And unless Owen has Murder's Cut or maybe Suspension Field, I don't think he's really going to be able to deal with his creatures with this many lands.
No, Steve Rubin put the counter on before attacking there, right? So that actually grew the High Sentinels anyway.
Yep.
He doesn't care where the counters came from. And Owen is in a terrible position here. He's sitting at 9-2 in the tournament, as is Rubin.
Yeah, and Owen has a lot of nice cards in hand, but none of them really deal with these cheap big flyers.
He's going to go for Rakshasa's Secret here.
Not that much does.
No.
I guess he thinks if he draws a swamp, and he can play the Necropolis Fiend, that might be one of the only ways he could get back in this game.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to work.
No.
I think the Necropolis Fiend will even be too small by next turn.
It will absolutely be too small.
But it's the only thing Owen can do, so it's not wrong.
Right.
His alternative to this is play some little ground creature that doesn't even threaten the flyers.
Exactly. All right, so Rubin's going to discard a Rush of Battle and a Bloodfell Caves and keep one card left in his hand. He's immediately making way for it. It's just a Jeskai student, but he's going to get a counter on it from the Ice Sentinels of Arshan, and that's going to pump it up to 5 power, so he's attacking for 8 here.
Yeah, this is just a massacre.
Yeah, this is just nasty. There's very few cards in Magic that could get Owen out of this, and there's certainly none in the set. And Owen has to extend the hand. Steve Rubin is going to keep his top 8 dreams alive and stay 10-2, and Owen effectively eliminated from top 8. Is that fair to say at this point?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rounds left, but I think this with this size GP, X2 will top 8, X3 will not. Pretty cleanly. Pretty cleanly,
yeah. It usually ends up being X2-1, you know, somewhere in that range. So that's going to do it for our main feature match. Kind of an anticlimactic finish, to be honest. I mean, Steve Rubin just kind of crushed him.
Yeah, well, I mean, a good game 1. Both players had pretty good draws in game 1.
Yeah.
Bad game 2 and 3, really, you know, with them taking turns, having mana problems.
Right.
But hey, let's maybe go back and look at Shahar's match or somebody else's.
Yeah, we'll jump over to Shahar. All right, well, it looks like we're going to game 2 here, maybe? Would have been a long game 1 if that's the case, but it's possible. One of them had to take a quick break in between, so.
That just made me think of, in the last Pro Tour, I was the on-camera feature match one round, and I had to go to the bathroom, and they have a separate timer now for the feature matches, so the 4 feature matches all have to start at the same time. So I was able to hold the other 3 matches while I went to the bathroom.
So when you come back, they're all staring at you.
Like, and it was a bunch of people I know, so none of them were happy with me.
That's good. Excuse me. All right, so let's get underway in game 2 here. This could be a good one. This is going to play out probably significantly differently from the match we just saw, as these players look to have a little bit more of a kind of a morph, you know, a little more for what you'd expect from this format feel.
And I did see Shahar's deck, and it looked very good. It's just got all the standard Timor good cards, as well as rares.
All right, well, there's a Highland game to kick things off for the Timor player in this matchup.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that guy. I'll board him in sometimes.
Okay.
I'll start him if he's my only 2-drop or something like that.
Yeah.
But
if you need a 2, he's okay.
Like I was saying before, I don't really like to play what I would consider the bad 2-drops in this format. I'm okay with not having a 2-drop.
That's funny. I keep saying that too, and people won't listen to me. Now I'm going to tell them that you said that, and they will.
It's just not an aggressive format.
I know.
Slow. They're not the guys that have evasion aren't cheap.
I've had this argument, and I'm like, I don't really care about the 2-drops. No, what are you talking about? You need some 2s. I'm like, you don't really need them.
No, I mean, I'm happy to. That's like I said. You take the good 2s aggressively because the good 2s are at a premium.
Yeah.
But the bad 2s, if all I have are bad 2s, I'll play no 2s.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I'm not about it.
I need to bring you with me. They don't listen to me.
Yeah.
If you say it, they'll listen.
Believe me, they don't listen to me either.
Yeah.
I've been trying for years.
Yeah, no, I know. All right. So Expert's actually going to hit the red zone here.
I'm not surprised. Morphs are a little bit scarier. That morph could be anything. Mm-hmm. And who's to say Morgan doesn't even have a trick? I have no idea.
Yeah, and if he does, it'll be quite good here, though. Wow, Awaken the Bear? Jeez. That's huge. So that's going to hit for 7 minus 2, so 5?
Yeah, I think Shahar can unmorph it to eat up some of the trample.
Yeah, he's
still going to die.
Up almost all of it.
Yeah, still going to die, just going to gain him 4 life.
Well, that's not a bad use for Dragon's Eye Savant, so I suppose.
Yeah.
So he sees Hooting Mandrills, a Scaldkin, a Monastery Flock, and I believe a Force Away.
And that's one of those 2-drops I like. That's one I'd consider a good one.
Which one?
The Dragon's Eye Savant. Because if you're on the draw and your opponent plays a 2-drop, you can just play it face up.
Yeah.
If they don't play a 2-drop, then you can just save it and morph it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And it blocks it blocks Snowhorn Rider and most morphs.
Whereas Highland Game by turn 5 or 6 is pretty much out of the game.
It is outclassed, yes.
Yeah, even if he's still in play, he's unlikely to do very much.
That's right. All right, well, Shahar has found a red mana source here and played a Morph with it, and he's just going to pass the turn back. So Highland Game pulling its weight here, though,
Yeah.
as it can jump in front of the expert.
Yeah, I mean, the 2/1s are usually effective basically until turn 5 in this format. Turn 2, 3, and 4, they can usually attack, block, stave off pressure. But then by turn 5 on, you basically need tricks and pump spells and things to keep them effective.
Yeah, those Morphs just go over the top in such a big way.
And obviously Shahar's not looking to trade 2 for 3. There's just no reason to do that in this game. So the Highland stayed back, and it kept the Bloodfire expert back.
You mean 2 damage for 3 damage?
2 damage for 3 damage, right. If Shahar had sent the Highland, that would have allowed the Bloodfire expert to attack back.
Right.
And obviously Shahar doesn't want to block it with Snowborn Rider, because that's a 5/5 trample, so that he would take it, and the exchange there would end up being 2 damage for 3 damage.
Right. Speaking of Snowhorn Rider, engaging in battle, he's just going to take the 2, and then Shahar's got a follow-up play.
Yeah, the Heart Piercer to take out that Bloodfire expert.
Pretty nasty. So a nice little swing there for Shahar Shenhar. He's got to like how that turned.
Yeah, this is a good spot for Shahar. Morgan's already used a trick. I think if Morgan attacked here, Shahar could double block, because he's not really that concerned about the blowout, because those 2 creatures aren't going to be very effective. Shahar's mostly concerned about his Snowhorn Rider and his River Aerialists.
Yeah. And it's pretty interesting because next turn, he's going to be able to just cast that Riverwheel Aerialist if he wants. Also has the ability to go for the Snowhorn Rider.
Oh, he takes it. I mean,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's the potential for him to have things or just to lose both creatures for the 1. I'd probably double block, because I assume Morgan's going to play things that are going to blank those creatures anyway.
Yeah.
So
I mean, because that's a pretty, that's a bold attack there from Morgan as well, right? I mean,
presumably
those mandrels are holding back 2 creatures, right? So you should be able to infer that he's got something to back it up.
If I was Shahar, I would almost certainly have blocked there. But
well, not a great backup plan here for Morgan.
It looks like it's going to work out for him.
Yeah. Wow. Is that a Saga Mauler? Do you just get one when you open your pack at this GP?
It seems like everybody's got one.
Like, I've looked at 3 decks and they've all had them.
Yeah. That card could have been Mythic. Definitely
could have been Mythic. You run into some weird issues with that, though.
Oh, is it like a design thing?
Yeah, it's a design thing that you don't understand, And it looks like Shahar wants to get the Aerialists on. Or maybe he just
probably
slams
the Mauler,
yeah.
The only thing is, his opponent has Disdainful Stroke mana open and a bunch of cards and chose to play a Monastery Flock here. So I don't know how much I really like this whole line by Shahar.
Yeah, I think I would probably go with the 4/5 Aerialists. They blank the Mandrills anyway. They're a perfectly good threat.
Yeah.
And if they get countered, then you always have the Mauler for backup.
Yeah. I agree with that. The only thing that's unclear is which one you even want to resolve later, because even though the Mauler is a much better card, that's because of it being unmorphed on turn 5 and things like that. You might rather have the Flyer in general later.
Yeah, it's close.
But I mean, he's already staring at a Monastery Flock, which stops the Riverwheel Aerialist. So I mean, I could definitely see this play going either way. I might have just morphed them both or something, to be honest, because that plays around Disdainful Stroke.
Well, but the Aerialist doesn't have morph.
Sorry,
so,
I meant. I might have. Sorry, I'm jumbling my words here. I might have unmorphed the Snowhorn Rider. When the Monastery Flock blocked it.
Because that clears the way for the Aerialist later.
And you don't want to play into the Disdainful Stroke. I think that Morgan.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I think Morgan probably has a Force Away. I think that's what.
He does. He's seen it.
Yeah.
Shahar knows about it.
Right,
yeah.
but I don't know if you mind him Force Awaying.
Yeah.
Oh wait, Shahar saw his hand way early, so he knows he doesn't have Disdainful Stroke unless he just.
Well, no, but he had 2 draw steps since then. So he could have it. It's unlikely.
No, and that makes just playing the Saga Mauler face up the right play. Then.
Yeah, because of the Force Away too.
My mistake on that. I had completely forgotten that he had seen his hand. I wasn't actually worried about having the Force Away because I was like, whatever, he'll bounce my guy. I'll just play the 2 morphs the turn afterwards. But if he had seen his hand and he knows he didn't have a Disdainful Stroke, then the coast is pretty much clear to
he's got to fade 2 draw steps or whatever.
Right.
And it makes sense for Morgan to leave up the Force Away mana, so it's less suspicious.
So it's not telegraphing a Disdainful Stroke or anything. The only thing is, I know it seems like I'm going deep here.
He just bluffed, didn't he?
What happened?
I think Shahar just snapped off his bluff.
Oh, yeah.
He attacked with the Mandrills, and I think Shahar's like, sure, block with my Mauler.
Yeah. And
pretty bold.
Yeah, I mean, but Shahar has so much ammo in the tank, which is what I was about to say. I know it seems like I'm going deep here, but there's no reason not to, because Shahar's in such a good position with this many strong cards that you do want to make the second best play if it minimizes the value of commons your opponent can have and stuff like that. Because look at Shahar's hand. Look, he's got a Snowhorn Rider Morph. He's got Riverfront Aerialist and Saga Mauler. You know, and he's got 2 other guys out to an 0-5.
Right.
So obviously, he does want to minimize the impact of things like Force Away and Disdainful Stroke and whatnot. But in this case, having seen his hand, you're not going to play around things that he has to have just drawn over 2 turns.
Right.
Necessarily. Certainly not going to go deep to play around things that he may not even have in his deck.
Right. Meanwhile, the beats continue here.
Yeah, well, this just isn't that close a game.
No, this is not a close game. It looks like Shahar's going to roll over McLaughlin here.
Probably on Morph the Snowhorn Rider now. I don't see why he wouldn't. And, I mean, McLaughlin's going to have no board, facing still 3 creatures, one of which is a Sagu Mauler, another's a Snowhorn Rider.
Gain a life.
That's kind of why I think it's interesting whether you do things in the dark, not in this exact scenario, like play that Sagu Mauler into Disdainful Stroke, because that's one of the only ways I can envision actually losing. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they counter it for 2 mana, and then they go on and untap and swing the game somehow. But in this game, having seen his hand, knowing he has Force Away, knowing he doesn't have Disdainful Stroke as of 2 turns ago, I like Shahar's plays.
I like it too. And Shahar wins. So he's